Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the patterns in the BaZi pillars. Now there is a distinctive pattern between the year pillar and the month pillar, and it has some really concrete rules. So this pattern means that there's a 60-year cycle, and for a given year pillar, there's only one possible stem for a given month. That is, you you don't have like the wood rat year. There's for the tiger only has one particular stem that is element that's associated with the tiger month. There's only one set, and so this locks in the BaZi into much smaller number of possible charts. And it is not like if you have a wood rat and you know your month, you have only one possible element that can be with a month. Now, there's a similar pattern between the day pillars and the hour pillars, but there is no similar pattern between the month and the day. And there's where the break happens. But there are a lot of examples that they talk about in like the references that I give. They just talk about, or they just tell you, oh, here is an example of a chart that does whatever. That chart doesn't necessarily reflect the actual uh, the actual real chart. I mean, they just they're just giving an example to show you a point. It doesn't necessarily correspond to any real date. Now, I always give you an actual date in the examples. There are times when I forget to write that down, but I want you to be able to look at that chart and stick it into a calculator, because there's various ones out there, to see what the chart actually looks like. And so that, and with the BaZi calculator, if there is a transformation and you have a subscription, you can actually find out what happens when you have a transformation, which if it's a made up chart, it's going to be almost impossible to find. Maybe you can, I suppose if you can find an appropriate date, you might be able to do it, but in those made up charts, that is. But here, this is something that you can actually look at, and I know you can have a better feel for the overall chart. So if you have a wood rat year, I don't care what kind of year, I mean, when this happens, the tiger month will always be a fire tiger month. The rabbit month will also be a fire rabbit month. Can't have any other one. And if we're talking about, let's say, a fire rat year, it won't be a fire tiger. It will be a different one. This link between these two is solid. And the same thing happens for all the rest of the months. And you can check this start with any date that you want. Look at the year, look at the month, and you can confirm what I'm going to tell you if you want to. Now, the most recent wood rat year was 1984. So if you want to start with the wood rat, which is, the start of the Jatsi, you could do that if you like. Now, if we look at the year, this is what the element has to be for the tiger month. So the wood rat, as we said, had the fire tiger. The wood ox year, which comes next, has to have the earth tiger. No possible anything else. And you can see that each one of these, we have 2 years. We have a yang wood and then a yin wood, a yang fire, yin fire. And the animal signs go in the positive flow. And but they're associated only with certain animals on that first month of the year. It'll be different for the remainder months, but there's still that fixed relationship. And so it just goes forward, and we're always talking about the tiger, but this time it's 1-to-1 because The next year is a fire tiger, then you have the earth tiger, then metal, then water, then wood, fire, earth, metal, water, wood, just keeps going. And this is the second set. And of course, you can check it if you want, take a screenshot, do whatever. Here's the third one. And again, you can check it. I mean, if you want to, just take a screenshot. And then here's the fourth one. Now, this is where the 40 years ends. We have the water pig. That's the end of the cycle with the wood tiger. That's the month that's going to be associated with it. If you remember, we started out with wood rat and fire tiger. So it goes right back to where it was. It never changes from this cycle. So there is a 60-year cycle in the year and the month. It will always repeat. So it's not like we have 360 possibilities. There's only 60 for the combination of the year and the month. Now there's also a distinctive pattern between the day pillars and the hour pillars. This also has a 60-year cycle. And if we look at a wood rat day, and we have all the possible hours, it of course starts with 2 woods, 2 fires, so forth. We have the rat, the ox, all in the positive thing, and then we go back to the rat, because the rat is split between the first hour on our clocks and then the last hour on our clocks of a day. So it has this kind of bizarre splitting. But this fire rat continues to the next days. It's the same 2-hour window. Remember, an hour in the Chinese chart is 2 hours. So this has to be the same hour. And then you go on, and then next, at the end of this day, it'll be Earth. And so then on the fire tiger day, we're going to start with a Earth rat, because that's where we end. So this is the link. So on a wood rat day, the first hour of that day, it'll be a wood rat. And then it'll stay a rat, of course, because we're talking about 0 to almost 1 a.m. And then we just go forward. So wood, fire, earth, metal, water, wood, fire, earth, metal, water. We just keep going. And so we have the second set, the third set, and then same thing, the fourth set, water, pig, that's associated with the water rat at midnight. And the next one will be wood rat, which is where we started. So they also have a 60-year cycle. Now, that doesn't mean we have a 60-year cycle. And that's because there's no fixed link between the month pillar and the day pillar. And that's because the number of days per year is not divisible by 60. It's not 360 days a year, it's 365.25, roughly, days in a year. So it won't line up in the Gregorian calendar. But it's possible to have 60 years apart to have the exact same charts. And but they're not on the exact same days in our calendar, our current Gregorian calendar. So if we just start with the first day of the solar years, these are 20 years apart, 60 years apart, and we don't even have the same animal sign for the day. We are always going to have a rat for the hour because we're talking right after midnight. So this will always be a rat, but we do have different days. Now, you can ask, okay, well, let's go for the next rabbit day after the year has started, the 1984 solar year has started. And we do have the same rabbit, but we don't have the same stem. However, if we go 24 days ahead in 2024, we actually have the exact same chart. Now, I can't guarantee it will happen for every single BaZi, because you may have to go outside the bounds of a certain solar month to have this animal sign line up. So it may not always happen, but it's not that infrequent. So here's another example between 1960 and 2020. Now this is actually within the same, even the same uh, Gregorian month. But again, there's no absolute guarantee, but it's very likely in your 60th year of in either calendar, you will actually find somebody who's born with your exact same BaZi chart. So that's just a bit interesting, but there is a limited number. For a given time of birth, there is only 360 possible charts. But of course, you've got 13 possible pillars here. So there's still tons of charts out there. But for a given time of birth, you only have a possibility of 360 charts. So it's not as broad as you might think. And there are, and when you're looking at examples, when you're looking at, if you're looking at the Chinese or whatever things where they're telling you about this chart and what does it mean when you're analyzing the BATSA, well, most of the time they're just made up charts. Not always, but often, because they just want to illustrate a point and they don't actually correspond to an actual day. So just that's one thing that is good to know, so you don't go searching for it. If you can't find the right combination of year and month, you know they just made it up, and that's the easiest way to do it. And of course, I have tables because was trying to figure out what date they were talking about, and I realized no, there's some real links here, and they just make up BATSA charts that never exist, which is okay because they're just illustrating a point. But you will never find them where you can actually stick in a date and try to look at what that actually really means. And that's why I went through all the hassle and took quite a bit of time finding the right charts, so that I could give you real examples where you could go to different calculators if you want to and see what they say. So I'd like to thank you for watching. I doubt you'll have any questions here because you can do this yourself if you really want to understand how that works. But I thought this is something really good for you to know, just so you know that an example they give you isn't necessarily related to an actual date of birth or date and time of birth. I think this is good to know because if you trying to analyze something that doesn't exist, you will never find the right date and time.